Welcome back. Today we're talking cool people who are doing cool shit at cool companies with someone who's somewhat of a celebrity in the logistics world. Meet our guest, Danielle Spinelli. She's a fraud fighter, a podcast host, and director of partnerships at a super cool company, GenLogs. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. It's so funny, a celebrity. That's definitely not the case, but that was funny.
Okay, if we're walking the show floor, any trade show you go to, it's like, do people getting their pictures with Danielle. They're like, want
Yeah.
to come say hi to you and hang out. It's great.
I do force people for selfies. And it's so funny because, like, in the very beginning, when I first started doing that, like, I kind of had some haters online and they were like, hey, whenever you go to a conference, don't worry if you didn't attend because there'll be selfies. And it was like mainly me that did that at that point. Now everybody's doing it and I love it. So, because I'm like, I want to feel like I'm there, even if I
Yeah.
didn't make it. So,
And then you get to tag everybody.
right. It's so fun. It's like, and then everybody should get to know everybody and connect with everybody. That's kind of all what I'm all about. So,
Yep. Love it. So let's start with your nickname, Fraud Girl. So,
yep.
how did you get this title? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So a little history about myself. I was a broker for 8 years. I was in carrier sales. So I mainly did vetting carriers and putting them on loads. And I did electrical wire and copper. So high value freight, had loads stolen and dealt with things and all that mayhem. So had to become really good at carrier vetting. Part of that was whenever we onboarded a new platform called My Care Portal, which like totally changed my world as a rep. I was like, this is so amazing. And my thefts went from like maybe like 2 a year to like 0. And I was like, what? And so it made such a big impact on me. And so basically then I started talking to them on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, you guys are amazing and whatever. And then eventually they're like, what, do you want to come on the sales side? I'm like, yeah. So then went to My Care Portal and was a rep there in sales. And so being part of them, I was able to kind of share all the knowledge that I've learned from firsthand experience with carrier vetting. So they would like throw me up on stages like, hey, go talk about everything you know. And I'm like, okay. And so eventually it just kept happening. Like people were like, oh yeah, that's the girl that's the fraud girl. She keeps talking about everything fraud and cargo theft. And so I was on a podcast with Nate Johnson with GLCS, and he was like, and I was telling him the whole story, like, yeah, it's so everywhere I go, people keep saying this, like, it's so funny. And he's like, oh my God, we need to build like a superhero for you and like get you a shirt. Like you need the whole thing. I was like, so funny, that's great. And then next time I saw him, which was at the Broker Carrier Summit, I think it was right at a year ago, he shows up and he's like, hey, I got something for you. And like hands me this fraud girl. I mean, the whole thing, like basically it's my whole brand. And so since he leaned into it, I'm like, this is cool. And so that's kind of where I leaned into and like used the fraud girl as like a way to, there's just not there is a lot of education about it now. That's been happening, but there's not like a great source to go to unless you're going to conferences on like an online quick shop of like what's going on, pulse check. And so that's what I try to create with my podcast too. So
How did you realize that this was like a niche that you could dominate? Did it happen naturally or did you just say, this is fun?
it's really fun. It did happen naturally because it was part of my job, and I knew the implementations if you did not know what you're doing. And then because I really did hone in my skill and like I knew exactly how to vet and like I heard all the weird things on the phone and like, the carriers would, and also I've been in the point too where like you're desperate to cover a load and like you'll like roll the dice. You're like, oh, we'll see what happens. Like I've been there, done it. And so that's kind of part of it why I was so passionate is like, hey, I actually kind of know what I'm doing. That and then honestly, it is really fun. Like as much as cargo theft is like terrible to have happen, but I feel like I became like a detective and I'm like, maybe I should have been a police officer or a detective investigator.
When I
Because
watch
it's
TV
fun.
shows about detective work, I'm like, this seems, other than the dead body stuff, which is
Right.
sad, like, this seems pretty fun.
Exactly. It's the same thing with me with cargo theft. I'm like, other than the stuff getting stolen, like how bad it is for the customer, it is so cool. Like, and the bad guys do things in like such unique ways a lot of times. So it's like, I've never seen that before. And then you got to dig into that and go down that rabbit hole. And it's fun.
They're watching your show and figuring out what everybody knows already.
I know. Don't even say that. It's so funny. So Scott Cornell, I don't know if you've ever met him, but he's like the king of all kings of cargo theft. Like he knows everything. And he's always like, in the very beginning, he's like, you give out too much information. I'm like, everything that I say is available online. Like I do keep things close to chest that I know, really works. Yeah, that's something I think about a lot. And on the podcast, I actually had to change my settings so that nobody outside of the US could listen because I was worried about that.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm. Perfect segue into the podcast. So you're an expert networker, and now you've launched the pod. What made you want to start a podcast?
So I was a guest on a lot of them and I'm like, this is so fun. It's just so fun talking to people as, as I said earlier, like anytime I can connect with people and talk to them, I love. But my podcast, the idea kind of came up whenever I was at Manifest 2 years ago. And I, walked in and I'm like, oh yeah, I know about logistics. And then I was like, no, I actually don't know anything because I don't know about ocean. I don't know about air. I don't know about warehousing, like and so, it was kind of an opportunity for me to be able to bring people on the show and, like, be, like, a dumb person and be like, "Hey, I don't know anything, like, tell me everything," which is the name of the podcast because I wanna learn about everything, and then, like I said, kind of been able to use that with every Friday being Fried Girl Friday and being able to educate, which is, like, what I'm super personally passionate about, so it's been just super fun.
What are some of the what's some of your favorite stories about fraud so far?
Oh my gosh, there's honestly a lot. I just think so I went on a ride along with California Highway Patrol. I've become like really good buddies with those guys. And it was really interesting to me, like seeing that was like a rail theft piece. And that's something I don't deal with all the time. But it was so interesting for me to like see it firsthand where, we were like walking the rail lines and like every step I took, there was like broken seals everywhere. And you would look to the sides and there's like empty boxes. I mean, I was like, what? I knew this was a thing, but like, what? So that was super interesting to me. And then also just working with those guys and seeing how they investigate. And then whenever they actually like their stories are freaking crazy. Like they'll go like underneath cars and place trackers and they're finding these guys in like warehouses and having like just all the way up to the ceiling, all the way to the back of stolen freight. And so it's just like those stories where I hear about like a cargo theft happening and then I'm able to wrap in those guys, especially if it happened in California. Like I think like recovered $4 million worth of freight in the month of December alone, just working with those guys. So yeah, that's like my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I think people who outside the industry might not understand how high value, like what's one trailer of copper
Right.
worth?
Yeah, anywhere between like 150,000, you know, 350 typically. But even like data serve like something that's also kind of scary, like talking about like national security stuff is like all of the new data centers and stuff that we're building. A lot of that stuff is from like things that we've made and developed in the US and foreign countries really want our data and how we're doing things. And so they'll like get stuff stolen from that. And then I know it ends up on the port and goes overseas. So then it's like all of our intelligence that we have in the US is going God knows where. And that's not, I mean, there's even like the Department of Defense, like they have stuff getting stolen. So it's like so many, it's a lot even more than just value. Like even just like our intelligence that we have at the US is going God knows where. And it's scary.
Yeah.
I know.
I used
Not
to
to
do
doomsday everything, but
stop complaining about your eggs. You got
right?
other problems.
Exactly,
Yeah, but
people.
I used to do parking for trucks. So they would say, "Hey, I need a spot for 100 containers." And there would be luxury car brands that were parking their containers in unguarded, no fence. And I would say, I want you to know this is where you want to park. There's
Wow.
no guard, there's nothing. They're not even cameras. They're like, that's fine. Then there are other companies that would have two armored cars drive across country with their pharmaceuticals, and we parked them and there were locks. And why do some companies take it more seriously than others?
I definitely think it's where they haven't had enough thefts to really feel the burn of it,
Mhm.
which is unfortunate. I do think nowadays enough companies have had those thefts that they're like, oh, wow, we actually do need to do something. But also, some companies don't realize, like, even if they do have thefts, they're like, oh, yeah, the broker or the carrier signed a check and we got a check for the amount of whatever the commodity value was. But they also are not computing in their heads, like, not only did I get reimbursed for that, but then the production that I have to replenish and fulfill that's money that's taken out of my pocket. Stuff not actually making it to customers' storefronts or not being in storefronts. So then they're buying a competitor's product. Like it trickles down a lot bigger than just like that value of shipment. And I think the industry's done a really good job at like educating shippers of like, hey, this is a lot more than just that trailer. Like it's a lot more that hurts your pocket. So we're coming a long ways, but there's definitely some shippers out there that still, I'm like, they're just worried about their bottom dollar shipping costs. And you're like, Lord, it's a lot. Even like spending an extra however many dollars here can save you so much more here.
Oof. You've recently made a change to a new company. Will you tell us all about this adventure that you're on?
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. I love my new company, by the way. It's like I kind of like nerd out over how cool it is because prior to me coming on board, like I actually reached out to the CEO like a year ago and I was like, dude, I gotta work for you. Like your product is so cool. Like, however this has to happen, this has to happen. And so he actually reached out to me at Manifest and was like, you gotta come on board. I'm like, yes, finally. So but GenLogs, we have a network of cameras and sensors throughout the US. So basically grabbing mainly on like highways and interstates and stuff like that, but grabbing pictures of trucks and trailers. So let's say like a cargo theft thing happens, we're like, hey, this is the truck that, because unfortunately, even nowadays, people will get the name of the carrier, but they're not getting a license plate or VIN number or truck and trailer number, like nothing. And so being able to provide them with either more insight on who that guy actually was or being like, hey, we just saw this guy here down the road. So that piece of it, which is like my favorite part because that's what I deal with. But
Mhm.
then we also take that same intelligence of like seeing where the trucks go and say, like a lot of times, like really good carriers, they work with the same shippers or brokers all the time and they don't go on like a load board. And those are like the type of carriers are like the good old boys that you're like, hey, I'm in a jam, come help me out. Like they're like really great carriers. And so this is kind of a way to find those guys as well as like, hey, we're watching them, go from here to there. And so maybe you should reach out to them because this is a lane that you do and, try to bring them into your network. So there's that piece. And then one last part that we do is what we call shipper intelligence. So basically saying like, hey, these are all the shippers that do electrical wire. And this is the type of lanes that they run because we're seeing all this interaction back and forth throughout the whole US. So it's like super cool, like high tech, amazing stuff. Like I like I said, I totally nerd out over it. Like I play in there all the time.
It's very it's futuristic. It's cameras everywhere, and I didn't even know about it till I saw a demo of it. I was like,
Oh,
"Wait,
it's
there are
yeah,
cameras on everywhere around the streets now?"
right. Well, I not everybody knows we're being watched. I will say like more than we know probably. But what's interesting too is like even like the government, they only keep like let's say like the DOT cameras and stuff, they only keep images for like X amount of time and they have to get rid of it. So like let's say a theft happens 3 months ago or whatever, or we can correlate the same thefts with the same ring. They don't have enough data even to be able to put those bad actors together. And so they've actually been working with us to get that data to be like, oh yeah, well this stuff happened. We saw them on our cameras, but we're like, oh well, we have actually seen them, a bunch of other times doing the same and the same nefarious acts. So it's interesting because government has so much access, and they also have to get like warrants to be able to see this. So they have to know exactly where they're at. So how would they even know? And so as far as like cargo theft goes, I mean, that's kind of why these guys have been running rampant because they've had so many I guess, like, constraints on them as a government to be able to, like, enforce this and go find the guys and stuff like that. So, it's pretty cool to be able to have that technology out there to, like, help the industry and help those who do have cargo theft.
I feel like anyone who can say nefarious in their day job has a cool day job.
Right? It's really cool. And our CEO, he was part of the CIA. So he actually was yeah, part of his story is like whenever he was overseas, he was having to like vet out informants to say like, hey, these guys are giving us information. But sometimes those informants were like bad guys and they would try to like kill US soldiers. So part of his stuff was surveilling those people. And that's kind of how he learned and took that same insight of what he did to find the bad guys over there and took it into the trucking world. So it's pretty cool for sure.
Yeah, that is very neat. We'll send the link to GenLog so people can check it out after as well. Is there a project you're working on as head of partnerships that's been fun lately?
So really just the educational pieces. I'm working on a whole like webinar series with GenLogs where we're getting more information out more than even I can do on my podcast and even just education on like how to sell to shippers with like our shipper intelligence and like also how to source carriers and build good carrier relationships. It's kind of like getting back to the basics of being a broker or shipper and like how to expand your network because I think so many people have depended on like posting it or going to an email. Like let's get human relationships back into it. So that's something that like I'm super passionate about and been working on pretty hard of like coming up with a whole series and then filming and putting that out. So that's coming out here pretty shortly with GenLogs.
That's awesome. And I feel like
Yeah.
now's a great time for it because a lot of the guests who are coming on have been saying AI slop is just killing outbound sales and you have to get back to
Yeah.
in person or relationships or some other way to reach people.
Totally. AI is great, but I think I'm hoping here's what I think will happen with AI. We're going to go like way over the top with it. Like, oh, they're doing all these things. And we're going to be like, oh, wait, we're not getting that much profit margin like we thought. We're missing out on all these other areas. And we got to loop things back in. What I hope is that we still have people that are doing the job so that whenever we do realize that we have somebody that's like kind of trained up to train others instead of like almost like a movie of Idiocracy where it's like nobody knew nobody knew anything. So there's a way to use AI that can enhance your job instead of just like totally taking over.
Yeah, for companies that slash their teams, there was one company that slashed their whole customer service department, and then they said, "Oops."
Yeah, and you got to train everybody. Customers are super mad. They're leaving. Like it's yeah, you're saving money here, but is it really overall saving? That's something that I don't think companies are really able to see yet because I don't think it's been around long enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to link to your podcast and to
Thank you.
GenLogs below. We like to ask everybody, what's one book, show, or podcast that you've been loving lately?
Okay, so podcasts, there's two of them, I'll say. One is logistics related. It's the Armchair Attorney with Matthew Leffler. Yeah, so my daughter wants to be in law and I'm trying to convince her to go into like transportation law, but he does a great job of like explaining what is out there with like the laws and since there's so many different cases happening, it's very interesting, but like he explains it in a way where like I can understand cuz I'm not going to read a whole document ever. Like my
Mm,
ADHD just won't allow it.
mm-mm.
And also like I'm not a attorney, I have no idea. So he does a really good job. I love listening to him. He's a good friend of mine. And then off logistics talks, I'm like digging Theo Vaughn's show. I love it. I just listened to the one with him and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and it was so interesting. I was like, and then he's just so funny. So
I saw him in a basement in Beverly Hills when I was like 21, like this tiny little club, Aqua Lounge with
how
folding
cool.
chairs. Then we saw him in Boston in another tiny club, but then and then we saw him in a small club in we love Theo Vaughn in my house. So
Yeah.
we saw him in a little place in Charlotte, and then we saw him in a big place, and I was like, "Ah, I miss the little places when you could, like,
Yeah.
see him." He's got it, man.
But proud of him because he's really, like, grinded it out and doing all the things, and I think he's still I mean, just from watching him, like, we don't know these people, but I just from watching him, I feel like he's still, like, a true real person, and a lot of times people lose that, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
We probably quote him at least once a day in this house, not
Good.
knowing it, like,
Yeah.
because there's so many funny things that have come out of his mouth.
He's the best. Have you seen his new show that he made with David Spade? I think it just came out. I haven't seen it yet.
Ooh, no,
I
not
know.
yet.
I guess it's like it's about them being like a, was it like a dishwasher or something at a, restaurant? It's like him and David Spade doing it, and they're just like a couple of idiots. Yeah, and I guess it's self-funded by them too. So it's like they were like, "We were unscripted, we weren't being held to only say certain things here and there because we had like a big person producing it." It was them. So I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I didn't even know that that came out. I'll jot that down.
Yeah, you need to. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, and then, what's one thing that you're learning or trying, dabbling with this year?
Ooh, good one. I am learning, honestly, AI. I'm sure that a lot of people say that, but I have like really bad ADHD. And so I have a hard time getting tasks done and I don't like taking medication. I'm working on kind of I've used other platforms out there for like calendars because I need it to like because I'm a mom of three and I have a podcast and I work and I travel all the time. And older son has travel basketball. So like I can't keep up with my schedule at all. And I miss a lot of things and I forget to make a doctor's appointment or I forgot I even made a doctor's appointment. So I've been using different ones, but honestly, I haven't found one that like works with my brain. So I'm almost at the point of like trying to make one for myself, which is so cool that you can do that nowadays. I'm
Yes.
still in like very, very, very early stages and I'm not smart. So I'm like heavily dependent on watching YouTube videos and people teaching me. But that's what I'm trying to learn is like I got to figure out a way to like organize my life so that I can do all the things.
Have Jenny, Malafarina's son come over
Yeah, yeah,
and
I
build
should.
a whole engine with you.
I
Gosh.
know. I was actually just talking to her because we were building up the girls' trip. I don't know if you saw the whole thing with the girls' trip, but we just did. So last year we did one and we tied it with the women in supply chain. And then this year we're doing the same thing. So it'll be in Charleston in November, but it's like non work related. It's like people in the industry because I think we kind of all relate, but I think we've kind of, as grown ups, it's like hard to meet friends, especially like good friends. And so it's like getting away from the fam, hanging out, like having drinks at the, having brunch together or whatever, and just like going back and forth and becoming besties. So we're doing that. So like last night I was just talking to her because we had just built a logo for it. And like we were talking swag and yeah, just she's so cool. I just love her.
That sounds like an absolute blast. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing what about your cool career, the cool shit you're doing, and the very cool company. Appreciate you so much for coming on to the show.
Yeah, I really appreciate you inviting me. I love it.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.